Welcome everybody to another week of the SAE Wheels podcast. Fucking up straight away. Fantastic. But welcome again. Second week we're streaming live on Twitch. This was always the intention for us to actually just do it live, and people can live see our discussions about cars. And it's usually a bit more relevant to things like the F1. But remember, if you like our content, like, share, subscribe, tell your friends, leave a comment. Tell us we're idiots if you think we're idiots. I mean, that's also acceptable. I'm also okay with that too. So yeah, Julian, how you doing?
I'm good. Don't tell me I'm an idiot. I won't accept it. So
No. I mean, we did have one comment. We've had one comment before. I think it was actually one of your friends that commented, and then we've had another comment, not the last podcast before. And basically that person said, "Oh, I love your stuff. Go to livefreegirls.com or something." So I'm like, oh, okay, so it's just a bot advertising.
Did you show your dick during the last that podcast?
No,
The
but
dick with see my
it
pictures.
gives me ideas. We might do an X-rated stream on like OnlyFans or something like that.
And what was the other comment?
Oh, Buffon, something like that.
Buffon.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it was somebody we know that did that. So, Julian, you've probably seen the title of the podcast and all the nonsense I've been posting in our Discord, in our podcast Discord.
Yeah.
Just to annoy you.
Yeah. Yeah. For everyone listening and to the others not listening, even, I'm not the biggest fan of Rosberg. The character. I'm not a fan of the character. He's a brilliant driver. He's a world champion. So yeah, there's no denying this. I mean, he's the only one who could actually bring it to Hamilton, right? So and destabilize him enough. Even though I still think that that DNF that Hamilton had, really got Rosberg to win that championship. Otherwise, it would have been actually again Hamilton. But I'm not the biggest fan. I just don't like his attitude. I don't like the way he complains and whines all the time. For me, somebody who wins and then just retires straight away, doesn't want to even give it another try or even try something else in Formula One. I don't know. I just not a fan of this.
Yeah. Sorry, my camera's a bit screwed up. Let me fix that up for you. Yeah, that's better. Just to annoy you, just so you have to look at the Nico Rosberg logo or podcast. Oh, he's gone. Did you just disable your camera?
I did that, yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I thought, this is not an expensive shirt, by the way, but I just thought, just to be annoying, I would wear a Nico Rosberg shirt, and I bought it specifically to annoy you.
Yeah, Nico written, well, the way it is in those characters over your man boobs.
Over my man boobs. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers.
So anyway,
don't drink and drive, by the way.
Yeah.
It's just I'm not a big fan. I mean, again, he's a brilliant driver, so there's nothing much, But yeah, it's true. Like his opinions and all of this, I just think, the way he did his YouTube channel also, and I haven't watched lately, but at least in the beginning, trying to be the biggest star, and it's like Villeneuve, right? Also, like it's like your opinion doesn't really matter anymore, right? And it's just trying to steer things up is not really the way I like to do things, and therefore not the way, or not the things I like to listen to.
Yeah, I don't know. Like again, I think this is the third week in a row we're talking about him. I've really come around on Nico recently. I don't hate what he does. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but I think there's some validity in what he does, and so I kind of enjoy it. And
with his investment in Formula E and all of this, I think it's interesting. But
and he's still involved in F1 to a degree. Like he still commentates and does a few other things.
He got banned for 2 races, right? Was it this season or last season? Last season.
I think it was last. What was it for though?
Last season. He gave his entry badge to somebody else, which apparently used to be a thing, but since Liberty Media took over, they're a lot stricter with this.
Yeah.
So yeah, he just let someone enter with his badge, and yeah, somebody caught that, and yeah, he got banned for it
Yeah,
for a couple's races.
that's quite funny.
Yes.
It's funny because it's sort of like it's shit that people do a lot anyway, isn't it?
Mm. The funny one is actually Hamilton trying to enter the paddock as well once, going through security, with his helmet on and like the whole thing.
Oh yeah, yeah,
The guy, can I check your badge? I'm a driver, man.
yeah. What
Actually,
was
he doesn't get that much more, pissed off about it or anything like this. It's just
yeah,
like going through,
and
but
there
it's
was
just like,
there was another race. I can't remember which race. Like Hamilton walks up to the security gate and they're like, "Stop, who are you?" And
yeah.
he's like, "What do you mean, who am I?" And they actually wouldn't let him in, and he had to leave the paddock and I don't know, get a pass or something to actually come back in. I was like, "Oh man, that's fucking hilarious."
By the way, I like that meme that you sent, about the two different drivers. Just the way they dress, right? Was it
Yeah,
Kimi and,
Kimmy.
and
Yeah,
and Hamilton? Can you show it on the?
yeah. I'll try and find it again. But there was actually another news article released today. Raikkonen. I'll try and find it, but it was actually really funny. Where is it?
And by the way, Raikkonen seems to be staying on for next year. I mean,
Yeah, I heard that.
actually, Alfa Romeo extended the contract for him, so he has to
Yeah,
answer now.
yeah.
I
It's
mean, it's
really
Raikkonen, so you can't say okay, that's why he's gonna stay, because he might just say, nah, that's it, fuck it.
yeah, exactly.
I
So
want to I want to stay on my yacht.
yeah. So okay, I'll go to share my screen quickly. How do I do that again? I've forgotten. Oh, there we go. Screen capture, Chrome tab. So
Yeah.
I'll just change it on your screen as well. Layout. Sorry, people. This is all live now, so we can't um, go crazy on it. But yeah, so this was the original post, and we spoke about spoke a little bit about it last week. Where it's again, evolution of an F1 driver. So you've got a photo of James Hunt, and then you've got a photo of Lewis Hamilton. Apparently, at the time, he was modeling something for a clothing brand, which seems a bit stupid because I'm like, but you're in the F1 paddock, and it's not a pro shot; it's like a candid shot. And then you've got, don't worry, not all hope is lost yet, with Kimmy smoking and drunk. Kimmy being Kimmy. But the interesting thing as well is the article comes from, this was actually released yesterday. And it just says, Kimmy weighs in on his disputed Instagram post. And basically he says, I don't care what you think. In true Kimmy style, I don't care
Yeah.
what you think.
Yeah.
And I just sort of go, I love that. I love that Kimmy is like this. I love that, I love that he just is unapologetic.
He cuts through the bullshit, of
Yeah,
the media and all of this. He just says his piece, and somehow I hope that is what we're trying to do also with this podcast, right? We just say
yeah,
it, whether it's politically correct or not. We don't really give a damn.
yeah,
And I hope I hope it stays like this, because at the end of the day, life is short. Enjoy it. You
yeah,
don't have to overcomplicate things.
yeah. And the funny thing about it is, it's almost like he's the last. I think it's like him and Ricciardo are the last two people in the field, and maybe a little bit Vettel, that are allowed to just be like whatever. They just do what they want.
I'd say Lando Norris is also pretty brilliant in the way he communicates, and
Yeah,
pretty open to a certain extent. And we saw this during COVID with those Formula, what do they call it? The online, yeah,
yeah.
the e-Formula or whatever. Charles Leclerc as well was quite,
It was actually interesting you mentioned that because I was actually going to bring up that there's actually a couple of Formula One drivers on Twitch.
remove this
And
disgusting T-shirt though.
no, I bought it literally for this. After this, I'll never wear it again because it actually doesn't fit me properly either.
It doesn't.
But what I was going to say, yeah, I actually was looking around. I went, what Formula One drivers are still active on Twitch? And it's actually Lando Norris is pretty active on Twitch, and he'll occasionally do like non-racing games and things like that. But occasionally Charles Leclerc is actually jumping in and joining, and they're playing stupid games and things like that. So I was like, I mean, that's
No,
really cool.
he, Albon, and actually Albon just commented, and I think it's George Russell. They're like really good friends.
Yeah, definitely.
So they do, you know, keep in touch, you know, during or after or between races.
Yeah, definitely. And just to hammer in the Kimi Räikkönen, being unapologetic thing. I mean, here's another one just for all of you watching. I love, it's just like he's the only one out there that's just like, I don't give a fuck, I'm gonna be
Yeah.
me and I'm gonna do me and I'm not gonna apologize for it. So I really love and commend that Kimmy is out there um and doing these things, and he's never changed, um because why should he? Everyone loves him because he is like this.
Yeah, but I get the feeling that he doesn't even care about that either.
No,
He's I think today or like Sochi is gonna be the race where he equals, who was it, Barrichello, I think, in the number of races.
no,
Uh,
I think it was oh yeah, it could be that. And I think like somebody else in the paddock asked him, "Oh, so you staying on for another year to get the record for the longest career in F1?" And he's like, "I don't care about records."
yeah,
He's just like in typical Kimmy fashion.
but that's what they were saying, like I think Martin Brundle was saying,
Yeah,
oh yeah, this race is going to equal Barrichello's record number of races,
yeah.
as the pilot who had actually the most number of races, but he probably doesn't care.
No, he doesn't. He really
And
doesn't give a shit, does he?
I was just before we got in, like FP3 started, so I was just on this and or watching this, and yeah, he's really beating Giovinazzi as well. Yeah, he's really like
Raikkonen.
I mean, Raikkonen is really performing as well. I mean, and not
Well,
only
the car's getting better as well.
I mean, the car is getting better, but it's still beating his teammate consistently.
Mm.
And I guess experience accounts for something on this side, but I mean, to remain that quick at 40 years old is just quite impressive.
Yeah, I mean, he's been consistently quick. Even when, like, you look at when he came back in at Lotus team,
Yeah,
he was really impressive, which realistically they then became Renault and everything like that. And,
and
I
then
just yeah, it's becoming Alpine now, but
yes.
I'll wear an Alpine shirt, a shirt that you can actually approve of.
So tell us how boring Le Mans was.
Le Mans was not boring.
It was Le Mans, so yeah,
Le Mans was fantastic.
ipso facto
Sorry.
boring. I'm gonna bite back, man.
No, Le Mans was it was a really great race. I have my reservations about Le Mans and you're right, I would say Le Mans got a bit boring after all the manufacturers except Toyota left. Because remember, like the Dieselgate scandal and everything like that, what ended up happening is Porsche went, Audi went, Nissan came in for half a race, one of the years. Peugeot was long gone, and it becomes a bit. It really became a bit stale in the front of the field at the LMP1 category. But it was actually really good racing. So Rebellion Racing, they're actually a watch company, and it was their last year. They've decided to take a step back from racing for a little bit. And I think it's got more to do with the development of the hypercar formula and everything like that. But they really gave it to Toyota this year. It wasn't up until like the last sort of 6 hours where Toyota started to get a lead of like they're like 3 laps, 4 laps, 5 laps. And one of the Toyotas didn't even finish on the podium. So it was actually Toyota and the 2 Rebellion cars in 2 and 3, which was really great. And to see that, I mean, Toyota runs in the hybrid, like LMP1 hybrid, so it's usually the super crazy fast and blah blah blah. But it's all right. You can fall asleep. The people watching. But the people, the interesting thing was actually seeing the performance difference of the two cars. and particularly when you look down the Mulsanne Straight. So the Mulsanne Straight, big long straight, with two chicanes through it. And one of the things that was interesting, so Toyota can deploy all its power straight out of the corner going into Mulsanne Straight. So when you saw a lot of the battles between the two cars, you just see them, the Toyota just goes. But then what happens is Toyota immediately runs out of power. And then you just see you saw the Rebellion car just walk past because it takes longer for them to reach peak power because obviously it's fully internal combustion engine and you know, and it takes a bit longer for them to reach the full power and torque and everything like that. So it was really interesting to see Toyota just go wow straight, and then the Rebellion would just walk past them, and then come out of the second chicane. Toyota would go again, and then the Rebellion would walk past them again. And then, of course, you have the different advantages through like the Porsche curves and everything like that. And the Ford chicane, where the Toyotas can deploy the hybrid right out of the corner and really pull forward. So it really was like a David and Goliath kind of sort of race between the hybrids and the internal combustion engine. Just because you know it reminded me of the Mustang versus the Mini, in the sense where they had their strengths in different areas of the track, where the Minis are quick in the corners because they don't have to slow down, whereas the Mustangs really have to drop down because A, the weight, and B, they have to go up through the gears again. Whereas the Minis are just holding relatively flat and brake later and things like that. So it was interesting. That aspect was pretty interesting. And as Julian walks off, but there was the
Sorry,
area.
guys, I got shit to do.
Yeah. But the areas that are really interesting to me in particular with the what is it with Le Mans, because the front of the field tends to find its pace and stick there, and then sort of like towards the last 6 hours all hell breaks loose. Forgetting what happens in the night, where they people are getting tired, they can't see as well, people are spinning out, crashing, that sort of stuff. And there was a lot of crashes through the night, and unfortunately, I missed a little bit of that, so I had to go back through the replays to watch a lot of it. But um, where the action is like consistently and really fun is in the GTE category, because leads are changing so frequently. The battles in that are so
So
great.
GTE, please explain GTE.
So GTE is like GT3, and it became GTE, and you have two GTE categories. So it's GTE Pro and GTE Am. So Pro, you have a full Pro lineup, and Am is like an amateur team, but you still need a silver rated driver in that car to compete. So the paces are different just because of skill level. But in GTE Pro and Am, it was really really fun to watch, because you actually have factory teams. So uh, Aston Martin went for their third class victory in a row, and they got it. And it was really tough for them because you had the AF Corsa, which is factory Ferrari, but not factory Ferrari. It's one of those things. And there was no Corvettes and Fords in it this year. I think
No Corvettes.
yeah. I think Pratt and Miller is the factory, or the company that preps the and runs the endurance racing events for Chevrolet. They've been focusing on IMSA this year, getting the C8 ready. So because the C8 was only out this year, they're still going through the development. So we'll probably see Pratt and Miller enter the Corvettes next year into Le Mans.
And next year is going to get more exciting. Tell us why.
Well, I don't know that it's next year anymore, because what happened is this has become the longest World Endurance Championship series ever, because what they were doing was they were realigning how the calendar worked. So instead of starting in, like January and finishing in December, well, it was actually
They're
February.
going to
Yeah,
overlap.
they wanted to finish at Le Mans. So Le Mans is the season finisher, right? So
Mm.
what they did is they said, okay, we're going to start in Belgium. We're going to go through June as a Le Mans, and then we're going to finish in Le
So
Mans.
Le Mans.
And
So
then
they went Spa Le Mans.
It's Spa Silverstone Le Mans usually.
Spa Silverstone Le Mans. What about the Nürburgring 24 hours? Isn't that part of the?
That's this week. No. That's the VLN series. That's a totally different series. It's only GT cars.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's actually on
I like
now.
the GT cars.
That's on
Yeah, it's
now.
on now because I
Yeah.
saw I saw the announcement, so that's why I was asking you about it. So
Yeah.
okay, different championship there. I
Yeah.
need to get my head around all of this, even GT3, GT2, GT1. I don't really understand what that
Yeah.
is.
So
So
GT1, GT2, GT3 GT3 still exists, but in different series. GT2 and GT1 are gone. In the VLN series, you have GT4 categories. So you obviously remember the Aston Martin, the Vantage GT4, the
yeah.
the Cayman GT4. Those are actually cars built for the GT4 categories. So they do actually exist. You actually have GT4.
So which one is the fastest of the GTs? The GT4 to GT1?
Well, GT1 is actually like Group C. So that's the CLK GTR, the Porsche GT1. Those
That
were
doesn't help, Eric. So those
yeah,
are very quick, right?
yeah. So they were
And
GT1
that's
cars.
essentially the cars that were for them to be homologated, they needed to have road cars as well.
Yeah, so you have to homologate. I think it was 25 road cars to be eligible to race in GT1. So the
And
problem with
that's where you got the CLK GTR,
yeah,
the R390 from Nissan,
yeah,
yeah. So all those cars,
the McLaren
um,
as well was a GT1
yeah.
car.
So is this coming back?
No, well, kind of. What they want is
Ooh,
They want the GT1 glory days of real cars running at the front of the field. The problem is if you do that, you've suddenly gone backwards as far as a step of development is concerned, and you're basically running a GT3 series, right? Which, okay, is what it is, but as far as factories are concerned, endurance racing is a testing ground for a lot of real tech that gets tested on the road. So unlike F1, um, endurance racing is actually like an R&D kind of racing. Like a lot of the remember Porsche was
there is
run
some tech of F1 that goes into.
yeah, for sure, for sure. But I think like more day-to-day relevant tech like lighting technology and braking systems and all that other stuff.
Mhm.
But so what they want is they want a bit of a mix of that. So what you're actually going to start seeing is cars that are more like prototypes being homologated for the road. So you people would probably remember last year Toyota showed that car. Um, let me see if I can find it. Uh, Toyota. Okay. What's it called? Hypercar. So yeah. Okay. I'll pull up an image of it, or Google Images, so we can scroll through a fair few of them. Give me a moment. So it's essentially this. So this is the Toyota Hypercar, and
Oh, it's a Lambo, dude. No.
yeah. But the thing that people don't realize is, um, this car is actually going to be a road production car. So this is a car that people or the
This is
general
the next Supra.
no, no, no. It is actually a production car. So
Is it
obviously
developed by the Germans? No.
the Gazoo Racing, yeah, probably actually probably is developed by Gazoo Racing, but it is actually being this and where was it? It actually did its first. There it is. It actually did its first laps around Le Mans, and this is actually the production car.
Nice.
So this is going to be a real car that you can buy. So what you're seeing here is essentially the GT1 category returning. And you can see like now this one has lights, so you can see it's a production car. But or Le Mans cars have lights as well. But they're building these cars for the road in the same vein as the CLK GTR, the Porsche GT1, the McLaren F1 Longtail. They're being built for the road, and that they are real cars. So the other thing is, there's um, let me pull up the other one. So Peugeot is also entering with this. So we spoke about this a
Will
little
they
bit.
have this as a road car as well?
Yeah. So it's actually part of the rules that so this is actually Peugeot had this at the Dunlop bridge. at Le Mans, which is just after the main straight in front of
Yeah.
the pits. They actually had a giant uh, Peugeot Sport with a giant lion. They're advertising, so they're committed to coming back.
Yeah.
Um,
But
and
that actually, I think I mean, from the pictures, and we don't see much, I guess. But the Toyota looks better.
it does look good, yeah. So, I mean, I think they're intentionally hiding a lot of stuff because it's not
Mm.
finished. Like, when I look at this, I go, "This doesn't look like a very."
Well, and there's not the aero package. Obviously, they wouldn't,
Yeah,
advertise this as well with it, to just yeah, show what their
yeah,
strategy is there. But
exactly.
um, how many cars will they release? Is it still a 25 cars thing, or and they will just do 25 and it's going to be inaccessible, or will they, in true, I mean, those brands, Peugeot and Toyota, they're cars for the people more than Volkswagen is. So. Do you think they'll do more and make it a bit more accessible for people like you and I?
I'm not sure, right? Because this is supposed to replace the top tier of, endurance racing, right?
Hmm, hmm.
And it's hard to tell because obviously these aren't going to be high production number cars. Not even like a regular a regular supercar. They're still not high production cars. You know what I
Yeah, that's the
mean?
thing.
You
That's
know
why
that
I'm saying
they're not selling millions of them, so that's why they have the price that they have.
okay.
But
So
I
yeah,
mean,
please, please.
but if you want to buy one, I'm sure you can buy one.
Yeah, but
You
it's going
know?
to be millions of euros
Yeah, because
or
of
millions of
course,
yens.
of
Well,
course.
actually, billions of yens.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's because how do I put this? These are true race cars that have been developed alongside a road car, right? And um, that's the thing. Like they have to they have to actually design it as a race car with the mounting points for street homologated lights and suspension and crash and all this other crap. So you look at it and you go, it's probably going to be quite an expensive thing. I mean, if we're talking US dollars. I
Homologation
mean,
happens where? Because homologation also varies from country to country.
yeah.
So
So I
that may give you an edge there. Is there like a common country where they have to have the car homologated so that there is a common
yeah.
base of regulations?
I mean, I'm a fan, but I haven't gone into that much detail, and I'm sure the information is out there. But I'm gonna make a wild guess and say it's probably gonna be country of origin.
But yeah, but that's the thing. Then it varies.
Yeah,
So then you have the advantage of being from you know, country A rather than country B because the regulation is a bit more lax on that side of things, and you can have crazy aero that goes over the car, or you can have pedestrian protection, so the front of your car doesn't have to be so round or straight or whichever the case may be. That actually would give you an advantage on aero. So the basis should be the same. Is my feeling about this. And just to bounce off of this, I think then I prefer the Alpine or Alpine. Yeah, I'm going to say it in French, right? Alpine philosophy, right?
mm,
Because Alpine, they're just making as many cars as they can. And this is why, getting back into Formula One, advertising the brand, I really am looking forward to the future of that brand and what models they will bring, because I'd really see it as bringing the sports, the new RS basically,
mm.
but with more radical styles. Give us back the Clio V6, the R5 Turbo 2,
Yeah, and I think I'm trying to find some images
but
here.
under Alpine, or Alpine, sorry.
I think Alpine has actually got. Um, Let me pull some images up. Is this one? So I don't think the strategy for the Alpine is particularly. It's not like it's not like, oh, crazy top tier car. So
No,
what?
I'm talking a car that I can buy that I can drive on the road. I'm not
Yeah,
talking about yeah, for
yeah,
endurance racing or anything like this, but something that I can buy, afford, and use it, because you can have fun with those cars on a track as well, right? So
yeah,
you can occasionally go to the track with them, have a bit of fun, and then just drive it to go get your groceries as well.
yeah. So what we're looking at here is the Alpine GT4. So they took the Cayman as basically the baseline of what they wanted, the category they wanted to fall into.
Mhm.
So in this Alpine GT4, it makes sense that they haven't tried to develop it into a GT3 car. Um,
And why?
well, I mean, I think it also comes down to some dimensions as well. Um, so you know how and that's the thing. Porsche develops a lot of their 911s. Um, they develop them with top tier GT3 racing in mind, right? So with the GT3, the rule books say you must have a minimum length, a minimum or maximum width and maximum length and things like that. And I think what they do is even if the road car may not be that size,
That's the problem for you, actually, the width and length.
yeah, but
That's why
uh,
you don't have an official girlfriend.
yeah.
So you're not married yet. But yeah,
but
okay.
take,
Cayman
taking
is a mid-engine though, so
yeah, yeah.
you're thinking in terms of dimensions, right?
Yeah,
So
so taking into account, so if you sit there and say, whatever the minimum or the maximum wheelbase and track are of a car, the GT4, even if they went and put a crazy engine in it, like they would not be able to be competitive because they wouldn't be able to carry the speed through the corners in the same way that like a GT3
yeah.
Porsche or Ferrari or Corvette would be able to do, because those cars have been designed with the regulations in mind to allow them that, all we have to do is run wider wheels and flares and whatever
Mm,
else to be able to race in that category.
mm,
Whereas if you are, if you are the Renault Alpine or the Porsche Cayman, those are smaller cars in just and by the fact that they're that small, to be able to make use of all of that track and length and wheelbase in the car,
mhm,
you the car would have to be so heavily modified, it's no longer a homologation car. Like it's not, because that's the thing. Like when you look at like this, for instance, when you look at GT4 and the same thing with the Porsches, right? They're they're not actually the thing like it's basically a trim package. So when you buy a track car, like if you buy a Porsche GT3 to go racing, in any sort of endurance or sprint racing, or if you buy a Porsche Cup car, which is a single make series, it's actually a trim package, and that car will get assembled on the same production line as say a Porsche touring or a 911R or a 911T or an S2 or an S4. It's the same production line, and the car rolls up and they go, oh, this one's got the GT3 package, bang bang bang, these bits go on. And whereas if you were to do that with something say like an Alpine, yes, the GT4 will be a trim package, but if you wanted to get it to the spec of like a GT3, you couldn't do it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no,
you
agree,
know
agree. That's
yeah
fine.
and that's
But
that's
again,
that's not.
it's coming back for me to, road car, a car that I can afford, that I can buy.
And that's not to say that exceptions to the rule aren't made. And I'll give you one really good example is while the Nissan GTR doesn't run in a lot of top pit tier series, you will see like at the Nürburgring 24, you will see GTRs running, Nissan GTRs. But the
Yeah.
thing is that GTR is not related to the street car at all because it runs a naturally aspirated V8. It doesn't run the turbo 6. It's totally different. They have, and the same thing happened to BMW when the M3 and M4 program, or the M4 program completed, the 6 Series program completed. They tried to run the previous generation Z4 in IMSA, which caused a lot of problems for um, a lot of the other teams. Not in the sense that it wasn't exactly like balanced, because in those categories you run something called BOP or balance of performance. So there's ballast and restrictors and all this other stuff on
Mhm.
the cars. But it caused problems because in order to allow that car to race, they had to stick an engine in it, which was not a homologation engine or built off a production engine. It was a production engine, but not for that car. They were running M3 engines in it. So they were running the V8s in them at the time. As well, because it didn't have the track, it didn't have the wheelbase, even though they tried to make it as wide as possible and tried to do what they could. And it wasn't an unsuccessful car, like it did perform, but in order to make it competitive, because it couldn't hold any speed in the corners because it just didn't have the dimensions to compete with the other cars, they had to give they allowed them to have a much bigger restrictor, which pissed off a lot of all the other teams that said, well, we've built production cars, around the rules to go racing in GT3 and GTE and GTD. They're all essentially the same thing with minor adjustments, but and they've gone, no, 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 we've actually built these cars for sale around your regulations, and now you've allowed another manufacturer in with an older car, not running homologation engines and wider restrictors, um, and they say, oh, it's all balance of performance, but they go, why can't we have wider restrictors then? Why are we only limited to whatever?
Because
So
it's all balanced performance.
exactly, but I mean, to them it says, well, they're actually running, because that's the thing. The
Yeah, I see your
race
point, but
race cars,
it's the chicken and the egg also. I mean, at the
yeah.
end of the day, are really manufacturers building cars to enter those categories, or are the categories kind of adapting what they're doing so that the manufacturers can enter with the cars they have in their lineup?
I think it's both. I think it's both.
Yeah, so it's the extreme. This
Like,
one is the extreme example where yeah, okay, that
let's
that you
and
gave for BMW anyway.
I think the best example of that is the Ford GT. It was only built to win Le Mans, both the first generation and the third generation. Third.
Yeah.
So, like, you're right. I think it's both, but I think there's a lot of I think there's a lot of consideration by manufacturers for when, because that's the thing with sports cars, right? When a company says we are going to build a sports car, and I think it's why Mazda hasn't really built a top tier sports car. They do have a endurance racer actually in the IMSA series, but when they build a sports car, part of that strategy, it's not just everyday Joe consumer with a bit more money. Part of that business plan includes the customer sports racing programs. So while, like, say for instance, all the different road Porsches exist, well, that's not the end of Porsche's strategy. They actually have the extension, which is Porsche Cup, VLN, IMSA, World Endurance Championship, and they will calculate out, what is the customer racing program for these vehicles. And that's, if we're talking about business plan, they build that in. And I think in a lot of cases for companies like, let's say Mazda, the MX-5 works, and those one make series are not really run by Mazda, to be honest. They're run by like enthusiasts.
Mm.
But the reason why the MX-5 works is, a, historically best-selling, roadster of all time, and they ride off the coattails of that, which says, well, people will buy it because it's a small, cheap, fun roadster, with mass market appeal. Whereas if you say, let's build a new RX-7, it's pretty niche, the appeal of an RX-7. The whole idea of, let's pretend it's a rotary again, the whole idea behind a rotary, and where is the customer racing program behind it? I don't think it exists. Time
Well,
and
the
time.
RX-7, I mean, at the time, did race and did win a lot of um, races as well. But
Yeah, okay,
the
yeah,
reason
true.
why it did is because it probably was not classified, or because that's where they kind of stretched the rules a little bit to allow the rotary engine to get in there,
Yeah.
and because we say it's a 1.3 liter, so didn't have any restrictions or anything, or ballast, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
But at the end of the day, since it's so widely different from a four-stroke, you can't really say it's a 1.3 liter,
yeah,
because
no,
you're just looking at the compression chamber. But the thing is, it's closer to a two-stroke engine than it is a four-stroke
yeah, yeah,
in that sense. So you have an explosion at every spin. So yeah, it's that's what makes it sound also so different, right?
yeah. I mean, I agree. Like, I think we've touched on that as well. I think the Nissan GTR is an exemption they make if we're talking about a big manufacturer, where they will allow it to run with a naturally aspirated V8 because the Turbo 6 doesn't meet any kind of regulation. And
And because it's a legendary car as well. I mean, come on, there's that as well. I mean, it's just it's Godzilla, man.
yeah, it is, yeah. But again, it's going back to the main point, which is, do manufacturers design cars around
The
racing
successful
series?
ones
Yeah, yeah.
in those categories do. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. And the business plans for these cars extend beyond purchases by non-racing consumers. Like, they're not interested in Malibu Barbie. I mean, yes, they are interested in Malibu Barbie buying a Porsche, right? But
Yeah,
then
but the Malibu Barbie will buy it off the. You have to remember that it always trickles down. So you
yeah,
get those people who buy the car because they love the performance and
yeah,
everything, and that gives it this kind of reputation. And then when there's a car guy in a room with 20 people asking, we're not that interested in cool cars, but you're in a room with 20 people and they'll say, "Oh, Eric, you like cars? What would you buy?" Okay, I'm buying this. So then you go to that level here, and then it gets popular, and then you've got yeah,
yeah.
the Barbies looking at it, or like more for the fashion statement or for the
Mm,
glamour or whatever it is. So I think we underestimate. We always say that a car, like the car buying is kind of a niche market and everything, but it trickles down.
yeah.
Because again, if you're a car guy, people who want to buy a car and want to make a statement or something like that, they would ask you.
Mm,
So if you're a car guy, you actually are advising those people, and I think the brands don't underestimate this as well. They know this
yeah.
very well, and so that's why they make us excited
Yeah.
about their product all the
That
time.
that actually leads me to an interesting point, because when we're talking about um when we're actually talking about, people asking for car advice and they go, "What would you buy?" Every time this when I'm younger, I just sort of go, "Oh, you do this and that and blah 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 and or whatever." But as I got older, you start to realize a couple of things about this question. A, they already know what they want. They want you to validate their decision or their idea.
Very often, yes.
And number 2, I would never recommend a car to somebody that I would actually buy.
No, because you ask them a little bit more. You want to, you want something that will fit either their personality or their lifestyle, or yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
something
100%.
something that fits in. Yeah.
If I'm like, okay, like in Australia, I most of the time only had 1 car, and, I was buying a car to be a daily and fun, right?
That's it. The daily. So that's the first question. Is it the daily or weekend car?
Yeah. And, right now I'm in the position where my daily can be pretty boring, um, you know, of varying levels. And I can also then have a no compromises weekender, you know. But most people can't do that. And for me, I really have to ask the question of, well, what I would buy is something you would. I just make it clear, what I would buy is something you would never buy,
Mm.
because it would annoy you too much. Um, Financially as well, I think, because people don't necessarily. Some people would say, "Hey, I want a nice car," and it's like, okay, but they don't realize that even my RS Megane, right? When I had that, my first service was $1,200. Whereas if they've only had, like, I don't know, like regular.
That's why you cannot afford proper clothes today.
Yeah. But, even when these people they're even offering cars now with the first 2 years free servicing, or servicing is $200 or something like that. So to sit there and go, oh, okay, the car is not that much more expensive than what you're going to buy, but just be aware
No,
that you're going to
but
have to pay
we're not gonna.
$1,000 every year extra for
Well,
servicing.
I
So
mean, seriously, because people know we're car guys, they will ask us, and of course we're rarely going to recommend the Toyota Camry, right?
I don't know.
But
I
it
have I
depends, but
have.
it's rarely like usually when they will ask, it's going to be mostly because they want something you know with performance.
Yeah.
I mean, I know for me, like in my case, the most of the time they ask me, okay, what's actually in terms of performance, what is the best car to buy here?
Mm, mm,
And then I answer, and sometimes it is the Camry, unfortunately, but
yeah.
because performance is not necessarily the 0 to 100, right?
Mm,
It's in terms of comfort, or what's the best car to get driven around
yeah.
into.
And see, that's the thing.
And
I
then
have I have given legitimately sensible advice. Like, while this is why we've been talking and you've been talking. I've got another screen here, and my eyes have just been drifting back to that A110 GT4, and I'm just staring at it, going, "Oh, that's probably affordable." you know, like in my mind, I'm trying to justify it.
it's
But
not inaccessible,
yeah,
seriously, and that again, that's where we need affordable performance cars. We
mm,
need more AE86 or
yeah,
the FT86, or the BRZ, or that kind of car.
mm,
We need affordable performance.
yeah,
Now the cars are just going. Everything is over 100,000 euros. Generally, anywhere you want to go with a car that has high performance and all of that. I want something fun. And I'm not talking a hatchback. I'd like to get one level up, right, from the Golf GTI, let's say, right? Where do
the
you
Golf
go after
R.
the Golf GTI? After the Golf R, actually,
Okay,
like after the four-seater family sedan, I want a two-seater, high performance, nice handling, something like this. Where do
yeah,
you go from there? What do you have as a choice? You don't really have much of a choice. You have
no,
the Cayman,
mm-hmm.
um, and then
The
you have the now
Supra
the Alpine, the Supra, but you
Z4
don't have.
M2.
Yeah, but those start to be up the scale, yeah, in
Yeah.
terms of
Well,
pricing.
yeah, and then you run into the same problem I was talking about before, where you have servicing costs that are just through the roof.
Yeah, I mean, and again, it depends where you live. I mean, here, an M2 will set me back. I think it's 150,000 euros. It's an M2. You know, it's
Yeah,
not. It should be a third of that price.
yeah. I
So
mean,
affordable performance is what I'm after.
yeah, I agree. And sort of, I think, like, if you're in our position, and we're not millionaires or rolling in cash or anything, but when you pick up that car, there's a longevity you want out of it. If it is like a true weekender, right? Not just a fun daily. And I look at those and I think, I'd be holding on to them for a while. Like, normal car ownership, at least in for me, has been like 3 to 4 years before I change it.
Mm.
Um, and if I had a weekender, it would probably be longer because A, I'm not driving it that much. B, and because of that, I enjoy it less, so which means I want more time with it. And C, I'd probably be like, intake upgrade,
Well, that's it.
wheels, tires,
Yes,
suspension,
yes,
and it's
yes,
something that
yes.
rolls on for a while.
This is where you can actually evolve. Like the car itself. So this is where you go, yeah, to the market to find, yeah, those exhausts, those wheels, suspension, brakes, ECUs, whatever you feel you can change, right, on the
Yeah,
cars.
yeah,
And But I'd like to get this, yeah, from a brand new car actually. So buy a brand new car that has performance that I can use on the weekends, but occasionally during the week as well.
Yeah.
Um, and bring to the track also for fun. And I think for me, I just keep on coming back to this idea that I want the new Alpine.
Yeah. I You mentioned this last week. We said, "Oh, we're gonna," because we were saying, "Oh, we're gonna get an Abarth. We're gonna throw it into a shop, get it sort of race ready, and then start hitting tracks."
Well, we were supposed to go in 2020. There's no way we're traveling
We
this year.
can't. We can't do anything this
Next year
year.
we're not going to be traveling that much either, so
Mm,
it's going to be 22 or 23, right?
yeah.
Which gives us some time to
Sadly.
save a little bit. But the thing is, those cars will be on the second-hand market,
Mm,
right? So actually they might be available there,
yeah.
and if they are, why not look into this as well?
Well, the thing
You
that
just need to check whether you're going to fit in them.
I think I'll be all right. I mean, I think I'll be okay. But the things that scare me about some of these modern attainable cars is gearboxes. They actually scare me a bit because manual gearboxes to me, I understand. And I just sort of go, if something breaks, you go, oh, well, it's not actually that hard. Even though fundamentally I understand it. And if I wanted to, I could probably do it. It would take me a long time. But I'd be comfortable going, oh, gearbox busted, probably a bearing or a gear went. Shut it off, stick it on the back of a truck to a shop, and it's fixed in, a couple of weeks.
Let's look into it.
When it comes to some of these cars where it's no longer mechanical, it's paddles with through a computer and then it's sending a signal to a gearbox. That's the thing that scares me a little bit is say we push an Alpine and they only come with the paddle shift. What is the power limit? What is the torque limit? What is you
Mr.
know
Flintstone, we have to choose something. We can choose the current technology, gearboxes, and all those components. At the end of the day, they're not that expensive. I would understand it if we start to crazily tune the engine and everything, but as you and I like it, we prefer to change everything else around the car. And in the true spirit of Gordon Murray, add lightness
yeah.
first before
You
we
mean
would go into crazy power or anything like
you
this. So
mean you mean Colin Chapman, not
sorry.
Gordon. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, the thing is, at the end of the day, the gearbox, usually they're oversized. I mean, like in terms of torque they can take and horsepower, they're over engineered compared to the engine or what the engine gives out, right? So before we attain you know those limits, I think we'll be fine.
Yeah.
Um,
Like I'm not when I say I'm worried, it's just there's a bit of mystery to the gearboxes still that I'm not as a enthusiast or as somebody that likes engineering to some degree, I'm still not fully comfortable with. And that's me. That's got nothing to do with
then
the thing might be a
we
solid
take an
product.
Alpine with a conversion. We put an Alpine with a manual gearbox. We get a get rag or something like
Yeah.
completely like stupidly over engineered.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's
Um,
a possibility. But I also do know that there are companies that like often some of these gearboxes, they actually don't need a lot of work to they don't need a lot of work to get them stronger. Like usually it's like they need higher rated bearings, they need a stronger first, second, third gear usually because if you upgrade power, it's those smaller gears are not going to be sufficient.
yeah, well, the
And
case also. When the
yeah,
case is the issue, that's the problem. But yeah,
mm.
I mean, at the end of the day, yeah.
Like often it's not you're not fully rebuilding a gearbox. I mean, technically it is a full rebuild, but you're just upgrading a few components within the gearbox
Otherwise,
to
we get a Regera,
yeah,
no
yeah,
gearbox.
yeah, exactly. What is it? Continuous gearing. But yeah, I mean, those are just things that irk me a little bit, and it's probably because I don't have enough experience. But I think very early on I mentioned to you, the second you start tinkering with cars, like you don't see the car as a whole package with witchcraft packaged into it. The second you start to even something as basic as ah, if I just undo these four screws, the whole side of the front car comes off and you go, "Oh, it's actually not that complicated." And then you look at the engine, and the second, and yes, engines have a lot of components, but the second you go, oh, this does this, this does this, this does this, and I need to make sure these things are okay, you're not that demystified, which is why I'm not afraid of just getting up to a car and going to do a pre-track day service. I'll be like, well, why send it to a shop? It's 2 hours to do a fluid change and check the spark plugs and even if you wanted to, you goes, can I do a compression test and all this other
Tire
stuff?
pressure, brakes, all the
Yeah, I mean,
levels, all of
there's
that. But
yeah,
yeah, the thing is, I agree. I agree completely. We don't need all of that.
mm,
We don't need the complications. And I agree also that the more recent cars actually add or bring that level of complications with all the electronics around it and
mm,
all the sensors that are in there and all of that.
yeah,
At the end of the day, as you said, it's just a question of unplugging, getting that out, getting that in.
yeah,
When I was 14, I explained to you that I used one of those dental electric motors
yeah,
to actually kind of create a supercharger for
yeah,
my
yeah,
two-stroke engine. So it was just for the fun. So it was completely raw in the
mm,
way it was because I was just using the accelerator cable to
mm.
turn a potentiometer to actually make that supercharger faster as I was opening the
Yeah, yeah,
the gearing. Um, and that was it. And
mm,
there's at the end of the day, it's not that complicated.
yeah.
And that's why we need to go with an affordable car first.
Which an
Because,
Alpine kind of is.
well, let's see, but it's going to be a couple of years before we go or make
Yeah.
it happen. And
I
yeah,
think we will make a call on that probably more mid next year, towards the end of next year.
we'll make a call on this just the day before we fly. Because at the end of the day, we need to find the car,
Yeah,
go and see it. Well, we need to find a couple of cars, go and see it, and yeah, it will depend on how much we've saved also for it. Um, so yeah, there's so many things that enter
yeah,
this
yeah,
decision.
for sure. No, I agree. I think it's gonna be, I think you're right. I think it's gonna be the day before, and we're
Yeah,
like, and I think after all that time, we're probably just gonna go, well, what's another 5,000 euros? What's another, you know what I mean? It's gonna be a bit like that, and I think that's just what's gonna end up happening.
let's get the Lambo.
Fuck, why stop there?
No, but no, we won't. We won't, of course, get that car. But yeah, we'll go for something appropriate.
Yeah,
We might go with a Citroen C1. Have you seen this?
they got that Rallycross C1, don't they?
No, that was the 106 that they had. I don't think
Mm.
they've done any rallycross ones since that one.
Was it the
But
C3?
I don't know. Um, yeah, Bad Obsession Motorsport is doing a C1 at the moment. That's why I was mentioning it.
Okay.
So there's a race series in the UK
Mm. I've
for the C1.
actually this is really interesting. I've actually just got the results come through for FP3 and F1 for Sochi.
That was such a shut the fuck up.
No,
No
no, no,
transition. Let's just go.
no. But I was just actually sitting there going, because remember in FP1 Hamilton was like running 14th for some reason.
Yeah.
Um,
Did he have any problem?
I don't know. See, this is the problem. I didn't pay attention to free practice at all this weekend.
Okay.
But you'd be very interested to see what the standings are. So okay, it's practice.
Oh, wait. Ricardo in the top 3.
No.
Far out, because I was really hoping for it, because they showed really good form in FP1 and FP2. So I hope he's not too far off.
Well, he's quite far off.
He's far off.
He's 10th.
Okay. Oh, maybe they were running a different program then. Okay, wait. There was a. Was just trying to remember FP1 and FP2, like the highlights, that they sent on YouTube.
Mm.
I think McLaren was not able to really run that much, especially Sainz was not able to run that much of FP3 and FP2. So Sainz in the top 3, try to bring things together for the qualifying.
Okay, so 1 and 2 we know. Science is third.
Sainz is third. Okay. Well, then Hamilton
Guess
first.
guess fourth without looking.
Fourth, Bottas.
No.
Gasly.
No.
Oh shit. Fourth. Well, then Lando Norris. Then
Nope. You won't pick.
fourth, I won't pick.
You'll never
Raikkonen.
guess. No.
Raikkonen.
No.
Latifi.
No. What? No.
Wait. Do I have to cover the whole field? Um,
All right, let's not cover the whole field.
Leclerc.
Just so you know, Norris is last.
Oh, so maybe he had some problem.
Yeah.
Um,
Ocon
Ocon. Oh, Ocon.
is fourth. So the Renault did continue to perform.
Yeah. Good. So maybe they were, because Ricardo was in the top three, like FP1 or FP2 or both actually.
Yeah. So after that, you've got Perez, Verstappen, Vettel, Stroll, Kvyat, Ricardo, Gasly, Leclerc in 10th, 12th, Russell in 13th, Grosjean
Where's
14th, Raikkonen in 18th, Giovinazzi in front of him, actually.
okay? That's right.
But cool to see Ocon up in 4th. But I mean, this is FP3, so we'll see
So we
what
get
happens.
Hamilton and Bottas, right? 1, 2.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens in quali.
So who is it? Hamilton 1?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
So Hamilton's up in front.
Because Bottas is really strong at this track.
Yeah, so in an hour we've got quali, so it'll be interesting to see what happens at quali. But yeah, I mean, it's the
Ladies and gentlemen, and Eric, quali. Do watch quali.
Yeah, I'll be watching qualifying.
It's a race within the race.
I'll definitely be
every
watching.
time. I'm not talking about Sochi. Sochi is a bit, I mean, in my view, is a bit of a boring track.
Well, it's not a. Go on. Sorry.
We will definitely not get the excitement that we've got in the previous couple of races. It's very it's very boring.
And
in the way although I watched Formula 2, and Formula 2 was quite interesting. Mick Schumacher came first.
He's starting to do all right.
He's I mean, he's consistent, and yeah, I think he's gonna. I mean, he's got a good chance of, if he keeps that consistency, he's got a good chance of winning that championship.
I saw a really interesting point about Mick Schumacher. People, you've got the shit stirrers, in the media, and when you look,
He's got big shoes to fill.
Mm.
Like, no matter what we say, like, we shouldn't judge him, but everybody does, right?
Yeah.
It's not. Of course, the guy is not his father. He's not, but actually, we should not even compare him to his father. That's the thing.
No,
but he's got that thing following him. So yeah.
But he is starting, like, a few years ago they really wanted to try and build him up, but he needed more time. And now I think it's like 2 or 3 years later, he's starting to get a lot better. But somebody posted an interesting article about the top point scorers in F2 of all time. And surprisingly, Albon, Sainz, Leclerc are like all at the top, 200 plus points, top point scorers. When you look at Mick Schumacher, yes, he's doing a lot better, but he hasn't cracked 200 points yet. And I think it's maybe the field is actually really competitive. Maybe the next, and we probably, the current F1 lineup, I don't know how many, that's all right. I don't know how many, Sante. I don't know how many drivers are going to be disappearing in the next 2 to 5 years. I mean, I can safely.
You mean in F1?
Yeah, I can safely say that we might see Perez disappear. We'll probably see Kvyat disappear.
Safely?
Well, not safely, but I would say.
No, safely. If you want to go safely, yes. Raikkonen will eventually retire in the next 5 years.
Yeah, eventually, unless he's going to be racing when he's 50.
And so will Hamilton. I don't think Hamilton will have the what Schumacher actually did show which is coming back into a team that was not a winning team
Yeah.
in Mercedes. We should not underestimate also the influence that probably Michael had on the Mercedes and the success that they have today also.
Yeah. The Mercedes story is very interesting
And
because
Rosberg was
and
there as
Rosberg,
well.
yeah,
Yeah.
Nico.
Yeah, to get back to your
My
t-shirt.
t-shirt. But
Yeah.
the interesting thing is like the early days of the factory Mercedes team, it's ex Braun, but there was a lot of internal shit fighting there. You know,
Shit fight.
yeah, like kicking out Ross Braun and shuffling people around and all this other stuff. And I watched a documentary on Toto Wolff online, and
Can you send the link?
yeah, I'll
Can you
send it
put
to
the
you.
link in the description below?
Yeah, I'll see if I can do that. But
Please press like
yes,
and share. What else is there? What can people do?
subscribe, share,
Subscribe.
like,
Be a
comment.
patron. A Patreon.
We don't have a Patreon, but if you wanna,
What's a
like,
Patreon?
Patreon's a website where you sign up and then people pay money on a monthly basis to support you.
It's a different website.
Yeah.
So you've got Twitch and then YouTube and all of that. And Patreon is like basically syndicating all of that. And you can subscribe to those people.
There's a lot of functions where you can do the same thing. Like Twitch has got its own system, so if you become a partner, you earn money
Okay,
from
so it's
that.
not Patreon, right?
No.
You
And then
don't
they
use
have
that. Okay.
then they have a subscriber thing, and then there's like Streamlabs, which does do things like payments and donations and all this other stuff. So, there's many methods they could do it, but we're not at that stage yet. We're still at the Santé. We're catching up on a Saturday pre F1 and talking shit.
Yeah. Talking about this, we should have a girl talk with us,
Yeah, at some stage.
like
Wouldn't
a
it be cool?
third one
Yeah.
who
We can
likes
do that.
cars.
Yeah, we could do that as well. But the other thing is what?
Do you know one?
No, I don't. Not.
Because I mean, the only one lady that I know who actually uh, more or less likes cars told me that she once was in Singapore, invited by the short guy with the white hair, Bernie Eccleston.
Really?
And then she met Lewis Hamilton there and everything because she had the paddock pass and everything, like the whole thing. And she was like, "Yeah, the cars go really fast and they're very noisy, and yeah, all those guys were so small." And you're like, far out.
Yeah. That's her level of interest in the whole thing. That's cool. Yeah, I don't know. I thought it'd be really fun. Is like if we build this channel up enough, and we could get Lando Norris on, because he's on here. He does like post race Twitch streams and stuff like that. I mean, it wouldn't be timing wise, wouldn't be ideal for him because he's doing FP3 in quali.
Come on, Lando.
Yeah, let's get Lando Norris. We can play Mario Kart with him.
I got so pissed off at Mario Kart earlier today.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's just so unfair.
Oh,
It's just so unfair, this game.
it's a tough game.
It's frustrating.
Like some people would laugh at us, but it's pretty brutal the second you start going up through the CC categories.
Yes. I mean, 50cc, 100cc, even 150cc is okay. But yeah, 200cc it's just so unfair. Just like they're just like you feel they all get on you, right?
Yeah. You go
They
from
all gang up on
you
you
go
to
you go from first to last so quickly.
yeah. So I gotta buy another Pro controller.
What was that?
But
I just heard a weird noise in my headphones. I don't know if you heard it as well. All right, so I think we've got to talk about the elephant in the room.
about you again? We talked about you enough.
I'm alone. So, but if we want to talk about the elephant in the room,
What, do you want to talk about Dominic Kelly being the CEO of F1?
no.
Ah. Because in your title there's Sochi. We haven't touched on Sochi at all,
Oh, we
except to
have.
say that it's a bit of a boring race. Okay.
Yeah, we'll touch on it towards the end. I've got a few things to say, but yeah. Have you seen the hate that the new styling of the M3 and M4, or basically 3 and 4 series are
Well,
getting.
I'm sorry. The grill is something we talked about on probably the first podcast that we had. So the grill is that's the new style that they have. And again, please be careful whatever you say about BMW, because when they come out, I also dislike them so much. But after a few years, you're like, wow, that looks good.
Yeah, the Bangle
Um,
designs, prime example.
yes, that's the 7 Series that I wanted. My wife said no.
Yeah. But I mean, this is the thing, like everyone is gonna love these cars when they see them. And when I first saw it, I had no thoughts behind it. Because when I first saw, the 7 Series and everyone made the jokes about the giant grills and all this other shit, I was like, haha, that's funny. And then you saw this, and I was kind of like, well, I'm not surprised, right? That they're making it a huge part of the styling of the cars. But at the same time, I go, the longer I spend with it, I go, I don't think it looks bad. I just
And
don't.
that's what I'm saying is that the and maybe it's going to take a few years. And yeah, the Chris Bangle at the beginning, I was not a big fan, but then I don't know why, like the design of BMWs is thinking forward to the future.
Yeah.
I mean, even the E90, nobody liked in the very beginning.
Mm,
Everybody was like, "What is this happening?" And oh, especially with the M3, oh, they've changed the engine and everything. This is the next car coming up. This is the next investment you should make into the M cars, because this is the one that will go up in value so much.
yeah.
Yeah, for me, I'm as I was saying to Eric, I'm thinking about selling my RX-7 because it's difficult to use, and yeah, I don't use it enough. And if I do this, I'm definitely gonna go for an E30, because I just love that design. And when it came out when I was a kid, I didn't like it at all, but
Yeah.
now I love it. Um, that's why I have also the E28.
Mm,
I love those cars. I just yeah. Of course, I'm gonna modify them. I'm gonna put probably an RB20. Yeah, probably in there. Just to be able to have fun a little bit on the streets and to make some funny noises, because that's what I love about the RX-7, and I know that I'm gonna miss it. But BMW just has this recipe, this DNA in the company, and this habit of bringing out cars that look freaking ugly when you look at them the very first time, but then as you look at them more in details, as you understand the concept and the design and all of this, the way the forms, that you just cannot help but love. And for me, it's the artsy life, kind or side of BMW. They have this way of, you look at it the first time. It's like a Picasso. You look at a Picasso the first time, and you're like, oh, what the hell is this? But then when you start to spend the time to look at it, understand the lines, understand what the expression, what they wanted to say, what they wanted to, the emotion they wanted to share with you. I think BMW is probably one of the only car companies who does it still these days.
mm,
I mean, Lamborghinis, they continue on their I'm gonna design a sneaker shoe with bright colors and angles and all of this. Um, Mercedes is, let's just not change the what's happening in the world too much in terms of design. There's nobody who's that bold as BMW is. That's why I love BMW. They're bold in their design, in the expression of their design.
yeah, I agree, and I look at
And I'm not saying that I love it right now, because I don't. But I'm just saying that give it time.
yeah, I mean, I don't. I can agree with you there. I mean, it's always a car company that I believe you need to spend a bit of time, with their designs and everything, and you really start to love them. And I mean, I think it's every generation of BMW that comes out. I mean, they cop so much shit, but at the same time, everyone ends up loving them and saying how good they are. And this is the one that's really divisive. This design, but because the whole when the seven series,
Remember Chris Bangle?
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
But the whole 7 Series, when the new 7 Series came out and how huge people were going, "Oh, look at the grills, ha, ha, ha." And then now they've just leaned into it and gone, "Yeah, look at the grills." It's like, you know what? Like, I think it looks great. Like,
yeah, and that's
I
the
don't
thing.
hate it.
It's give it time, and you need to remember that what another thing that I love about BMW is that they're still one of the most independent car companies we have out there in terms of how big the company is. It's not as big as the Mercedes, as the Volkswagen, as the Renault Nissan thingy. GMs or all of that. You know, it's still a smaller car company that is, keeping its recipe, just continuing with it,
Mm,
not trying to follow the trends as much, just trying to do its thing.
yeah.
And I love that about this car company.
Yeah. And I have to really hammer it in. I just think n very few people have seen this car in the flesh. They've looked at photos of it. That's it. And I think a lot of their opinions are gonna change over the months when they start to see them on the road. The rear of the 4 Series, let me see, let me see if I can find a photo of the rear exhaust. Um, the rear exhaust of the 4 Series is here we go. Let me just share that for you quickly. Um, you look at the rear exhaust there.
Oh, like the E28. This
Yeah,
is part of the reason why I love the E28. The a different size of headlights, bigger on the outside and smaller on the inside, and the central exhaust
yeah.
on the E28. I love it.
I think it looks really good.
Mm.
I mean, genuinely, it's kind of wild. It's both in keeping with the DNA. But you've got this very radical sort of.
Oh,
I
I
think
didn't see. I couldn't see that just the central exhaust. So this is LFA style.
yeah, and I think the
I
3
mean, LFA
Series.
had three, but yeah.
So this is
I mean, it's like in terms of triangle, right?
yeah. So I think the actual M4 um is a. Oh, hang on. I think I'm loading a different. Oh, speaking of which,
Oh,
the GR010. So it is made in Germany. It's the German
I didn't know on the way.
street legal version of its 735 kilowatt GR Super Sport Le Mans concept. So it's changed dramatically from that at the moment. Let me just go back here. But I think the 3 Series version of the car, like this one, I think the exhausts are more traditional in the sense where they got 2 on each side. But the 4 Series, obviously, because it's a coupe, they've got a bit more room in the rear to actually do things like this. So, um, I think that's quite cool. I think again, like
Me
it's
likey.
it's hated. It's been hated universally for a long time, but I think as it comes
I
out,
think that the rear lights are a bit uninspired myself, but again, that's fine. I think that the front is really BMW. The rear is a bit uninspired,
mm,
especially the rear lights. Sorry, I should say a bit uninspired. Overall, the rear of the car I like it, but yeah, the lights a
the
little bit. It's a little bit too reminiscent of the Lexus.
you know BMW Motorrad or motorbikes. Have you started to see they've started to match the road car styling to the bikes now?
Oh, oh. Some of their bikes, like the Cafe Racer inspired bikes, but modernized, are just so gorgeous.
Mm,
If I could, I would, because you know what? My wife wouldn't allow me to buy a motorcycle anymore.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I can pull that up for
And
you now.
anyway, I kind of listen to her also because yeah, I'm just Yeah, not a fan of those ones. I mean, again, to each their own. I'm not a big fan of this. For me, the cafe racer is really like the one car, the bike style that I like the most.
Yeah.
Um, but that I don't like to ride.
But when we're talking about their modern sport bikes, I mean, that's a flat twin. I mean, that's pretty cool.
It's always been a boxer engine for BMW. I mean, like that's one of their thing, right?
Jeez, what a monster
Oh yeah,
displacement.
yeah. But yeah, that's their thing, the boxer engine.
Yeah.
And I got a friend who actually said, who always says that it saved him because he got squeezed by a car, and then it was going to be his leg, but instead it was that cylinder that
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
caught that pole.
Oh, really?
So he got squeezed by a car, on the sidewalk, and there was that pole, for pedestrians, I guess, to protect pedestrians. And yeah, that's the engine that took instead of his knee, basically. And he says it saved him, well, saved his leg.
Yeah, wow.
So yeah, but motorcycles.
But yeah, I mean, I suppose we should touch on Sochi a little bit because we're getting towards, full length of the podcast. But I think one of the biggest things with Sochi is, unlike Spa and
Don't tell
Magello,
me who to touch.
yeah. But in terms of Sochi, unlike a lot of the other racetracks like Silverstone, Spa, a lot of the Italian tracks, the German tracks, Sochi apparently doesn't get used very much.
No, it doesn't. It's kind of, yeah, it's a bit lost where it is, right?
Yeah, so
Geographically, I mean, unless you're really rich and then you have your race cars there, and then you can use it, on the track there, on the weekends or something like this. It's just a bit far away from anything, right?
yeah.
So
So one of the things that the teams were sort of finding is the track is different. Like the layout's the same, but because it's not used much, the surface is always different. Weather's very inclement there. Um, so you've got the surface changes because it's not being rubbered in all the time. So it's very coarse. Um, if they decide to repave it, it kind of changes it all up again. Because of the weather, it changes its, they hit the bumps and everything like that. So
yeah, thank you for all the excuses, Rosberg.
but it changes the way that the track is, and I think that's been one of the biggest things that I've heard about the circuit itself, and it probably explains the at least the FP3 results a little bit. I think they've had enough time there to gather data to do some setup stuff and whatnot.
Yeah, no,
But
yeah, as you can see, I mean, the track is very dusty as well. I mean, probably not as much as Abu Dhabi, but yeah, it is very dusty.
mm,
And yeah, it changes a lot. I mean, one of the comments from Bottas in FP3 was that the track doesn't have much grip today. So it does change a lot. I guess that's the nature also of tracks being such in proximity to the sea.
yeah, true.
And then the basically desert around. Seriously, it's not much
Yeah.
more different than this, right? So um, yeah, it's all of this combined that make it an interesting track for that side. I mean, when they were running FP3, it was what, 26, 27 degrees. They're planning for 30, 31 degrees tomorrow, so that will, those 4 degrees, they change things so much because they're talking about ambient air, right? But then the track temperature just moves by what, almost 10 degrees
Yeah.
in those
Yeah,
cases. So
really fast.
depending also on wind and everything. But hey, don't forget it's starting earlier than what we've been used to so far.
Has
Also,
it? Is it?
yeah, it started at 6 p.m.
Let
I
me look that
think.
up.
So I believe that that qualifying is on right now, man.
No, it's not on yet. 47 minutes.
Okay.
But the race, let me just check. Well, at least for Asia time.
Yeah, for us. Yeah,
Yeah, you're
but
right. 10 past 6. 10 past 6.
10 past 6 p.m. Yeah, so that's it. Yeah. So 10 past 6 p.m. means 2 hours earlier than the race we've been used to. So if you're in Europe, instead of 3 p.m., it's at 1 p.m.
Yeah. and for the rest of the world, it's probably a little bit better.
I don't
Not
talk to
that,
the Americans.
yeah, the Americans, they're never going to catch it.
B is for bullshit.
But yeah, so
No, his channel is great. Sorry, I
yeah,
didn't want to say that because his channel is absolutely great, and what he's doing now with his boat is also quite interesting. Even though
I
I'm
haven't
not a
watched
big fan
any
of
of that.
boats, but yeah, no, seriously, go have a look at the boat. The pickle he's in right now, and
Mm.
what he's trying to do. Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah,
fantastic. Well, I think for our live listeners, thank you very much for joining us. Remember, uh,
send
give
us
us,
some money.
yeah, or if you don't want to do that, give us a follow. For those of you watching on YouTube, we release this next week on YouTube.
If you don't want to do that, stop watching.
Yeah, there's that. But on YouTube, give us a like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, suggestions, whatever. You know, we're open to whatever. So you
And
know,
a little olive.
a little olive. So thank you, everybody. That's another
I
week of
should
our
explain
podcast.
the little olive now.
Yeah. Let
Little
take us
olive is
take us
a is
there.
a is the first phalange. It's just the first knuckle in the ass. It's just a little olive. Not more than this.
Just the
It's not a
tip.
melon. It's not a melon. Or just the
Just the
olive.
tip.
So give
Nice.
us a little olive
Yes, give us that.
to keep us
In the
going.
form of a like, share, subscribe, or follow if you're watching on Twitch. So thank you, everybody. You know, have a good weekend. Enjoy the race. I know we will.
And tell him how ridiculous his t-shirt is. Thank you.
No. Thanks,
Goodbye.
everybody. Goodbye.